The ADAPT2DC project focused on cost-effective solutions for social and technical services and infrastructure in shrinking regions and cities in Central Europe.
Demographic change nowadays, besides of climate change, is one of the most important issues in Central Europe.
A typical impact of demographic change is that fewer users of infrastructures are left, but seeing that the regions or municipalities are legally obliged to provide a range of services, the possibilities to downsize the infrastructures are limited. A reduction in the number of users is thus likely to result in increasing per capita costs for services. Aging will predictably have the strongest impact on public expenditures on pensions, healthcare and long-term care. For the EU as a whole, those expenditures are projected to increase by 4.1% to 29% of GDP between 2010 and 2060.
The problem is that we have to provide a sort of adequate services which are sustainable and which are financeable, because the regions and also the communes have to deal with the shrinking population and the shrinking money they gain to provide the services. And against this background, we proposed this project ADAPT2DC to find out solutions and exchange solutions within the regions to fight against these problems.
The focus is on the changes in infrastructure and service costs that are related to the process of population shrinkage. That's the main field in the project.
Of course, your main task is adaptation and give concrete examples how a shrinking area should adapt. But you have to explore the potentials to change the development. If you close down kindergartens, if you close down schools, and 10 years later the area is successful to start to grow again, then you made huge mistakes.
The ADAPT2DC project aimed to answer the question, how can public infrastructures be sustainably managed in a context of demographic change? In order to find answers to this question, each participating country implemented one pilot action.
The aim of our pilot action is to suggest sustainable methods to make these buildings more effective in view of maintenance cost and using according to inhabitant needs.
We designed our pilot action to launch new form and innovative form of childcare services for women who would like to have the chance to go back to the labor market. We wanted to find out what are the possibilities to establish more flexible solutions for mothers.
Kombibus, that's the German term. I think it's a very catchy term. A feasible translation or explanation is combination of passenger transport with goods transport. And the basic idea of the general manager of Kombus is that in future buses shall not only transport people but also goods.
Ostana is a small village that has got less than 100 inhabitants, as almost all the municipalities there. The creation of a multi-service center had the idea to promote activities not existing and also to provide services already existing and making them more efficient.
Telemedicine, it's something what's on the top now in medicine. I mean, what's the idea? We got a patient here who is monitored, and this ECG trace we send, or the patient is sending, to the doctor, who can sit in next room, but he can also sitting in another hospital in another city. So, and of course, later on, this doctor will give feedback and some advices, or, for example, he can also alarm the ambulance or emergency team.
We know from the cardiological guidelines that this method is useful for many patients. For us, it seems like it's a cut cost method. So it's good in cost effectiveness because you cut costs on hospital admission.
The pilot area is the center of Maribor city. Here is about 20,000 of inhabitants. This is the area of 2 square kilometers, and the population about 65 age is about 23%. The first tool we are trying to demonstrate the intensify of the use of the public buildings. This is the mapping of unused attic potentials. There are about 70 buildings of properties. Among them, there are 23 in the public ownership.
The results of these pilot actions were brought into the so-called European strategy for regional responses on demographic change. And this European strategy will set up really impressive recommendations in different fields of infrastructure, for example, in the field of healthcare, in the field of transport and mobility, and the field of social care.
It should be acknowledged that different pace and extent of shrinkage is mixed in regions, in research, in policy, and we have to pay attention to such differences. There is a need of paradigm shift from fighting the demographic change to adaptation to demographic change, because some demographic trends, as we have seen, cannot be reversed in a short period of time and should be taken as they are.
I think we should not only discuss the problem in terms of costs, but we also should see a certain chance for the future in developing so-called silver economy, meaning that this is a new sector and giving also the chance for further growth in Europe, which is in stagnation. And this sector should give more job opportunities, not only to younger people, but also to aging people. So it is much related to healthy and active, first of all, active aging. And there is also a chance within this sector to offer new, maybe innovative services for older people and maybe new innovative goods for older people. And with innovation, as we may experience, these goods and services will become maybe a bit cheaper in the future.
Intergenerationality, that has a lot of advantages with the common infrastructure use that could save a lot of money, and that's an important issue for our project as well.
One of the conclusions, I think, of the whole project is that demographic change may need a change in the approach of spatial planning, urban planning, the way we think about our settlements.
I would say that everyone agrees that the complexity of challenges, environmental, social, economic, demographic, can only be handled in an integrated way, which means that you have to integrate the working of local governments. It is impossible that the social department never talks to the planning department and they never talk to the economic department.
Perhaps some more coordination in the policy field on the EU level would be needed, so that not almost every institution would deal with the same problem and would come up with its proposals, which in fact are very much overlapping. And finally, the potential success which we would see is the attempt to introduce demographic issues to the cohesion policy and mainstreaming the subject of the demographic change.
Although there are huge differences among European regions in terms of their social and economic development, and also we have to have in mind that demographic issues are very sensitive in terms of policy making. The provisions of the European strategy that we developed within the project are transferable to different regions in the EU member states.